So here we are, The Long Way Round, new album out now. It's called The Long Way Round because you recorded it all over the world.
Indeed.
So where did you go while you were recording it?
I went from London to Devon to LA and back.
A pretty common triangle to
A very
record
common
an album.
triangle.
Yeah.
I actually think going from Devon to LA is hell. Because it's so opposite. Yeah, I didn't like that.
Bit of a culture shock.
Yeah,
Do they have anything in common?
the odd hippie.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
When you're out there in LA and you're working with all these great musicians out there, what's that
Mm.
like? 'Cause you're going in there, you don't know these people super well, right? Have you met them before you're straight away working with them?
I'd met one of the two LA American producers. I'd met one of them before in London. He used to live in London, and I used to work with him here, and I was very happy that he was there. I wish he was still here, but I was happy he was there. And one of them I hadn't met before, but I'm very used to meeting strange men that I've never met before because that's kind of what you do in the session circuit. It's quite a weird thing, and I think artists are always good at talking for as long as they can, because you go into a room with a strange man and you're in the room for like 7 hours and they're like, what's the worst day that happened to you? Let's write about it.
Really?
So you're just used to talking to people.
Because I know
meeting
that's something
people.
you do is write with other musicians. That's so you don't often
Yes.
come up with a fully formed song yourself. You sort of
No.
work with other musicians. So what's that? Is that like a common prompt to say? Is like, what's the worst experience you've had? Let's write a song. What's like an example of a prompt that you've managed to work a song from?
Every single person in LA wants to write about love. They don't want to write about anything else. It's like there's nothing else that exists, which I kind of hate, but I'm trying to think. Yeah, all the songs that I wrote in LA are all about love. I mean, I rarely have a weird prompt. I'm usually like, can we write about something a bit different? But it's...
What do you come up with?
I'm trying to think what was on this that... Let me look.
You just apologise to me.
Sorry. Spike. I mean, well, Jeffrey's not actually got lyrics, but it is about this little bug that I killed, like in spirit. As like a...
What's the story there?
Well, I was jamming the song on guitar or the chords, and then I saw a bug on the floor while I was recording it, and I was like, he looks like a Jeffrey. And then I like zoned out and was playing again for another hour or so, and then when I stopped, I stood up and I'd stood on Jeffrey, having forgotten he was there. So then I was like, well, I have to call the song Jeffrey now. So that one's about him. And then, oh God. No, there's actually quite a few about like cyclical life and like beginnings and ends and stuff. That's kind of the main theme of this album anyway.
Because there's a song on there called Maya, Maya, Maya.
There is.
Which is a song that you've written to your younger self.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you wrote a song now about your experience making the album, getting the music out there to yourself just before you started your music career.
Ooh.
What would you write about?
Probably, that's a good question. Probably about kind of just like letting the pressure go of trying to fit into a mould of like an industry mould where you're very much told to pick a lane, to pick a genre, to have a very single sound. And when I first started writing this, I was very confused and I couldn't pick a sound and it was stressful. So I think it would be about that stress and not trying to like, and just making music for the sake of making music.
So when you meet people who've not heard your stuff and they no doubt say, what music do you make?
I hate that question.
I was going to say, you don't have an answer on hand for that.
No, I kind of just list about 5 genres and I say it's within there somewhere.
The album's come out on Blue Note, which is like a really storied jazz label that's been around for like well over 100 years at this point, I think.
Yeah.
That's about right.
Yeah.
With like huge names released on it, you know, Thelonious Monk and Miles Davis and all these people. Could you tell me what it's like being added to a roster like that and what your experience has been working with Blue Note?
Well, there's been a lot of imposter jazz syndrome because I wouldn't ever label myself as just a jazz musician.
Because you're in the jazz section here in Rough Trade.
I know. I'm always in the jazz section. I do a lot of jazz festivals and I'm about to do a jazz conference and I just get... Yeah. I did ask someone once, though, why... I asked my agent once why I get booked for jazz festivals and he said, well, if you can improvise on an instrument, you get specified as jazz, which is a really nice thing. But I grew up in jazz bands and always was terrified to do a solo because I don't have any theory knowledge and jazz soloing and stuff is like incredibly theory based. But when I signed to Blue Note, they had very much said that I was kind of their artist that they'd signed to experiment with different genres and to bring Blue Note out of the like fully jazz area. So I felt less scared to not be a jazz
So they give you a lot of freedom then. That's
so
really
much.
cool.
Well,
yeah.
Don who's the head of Blue Note, said when he signed me that he'd be fine if I made a 20-hour psychedelic album. He just wants me to make music. So the most freedom I could have, which is really nice.
What's the strangest kind of territory you ended up in while you were writing it? Any weird genre experiments or things that didn't make the cut?
No weird ones that didn't make the cut, but Squeeze was unexpected. I didn't think I'd make like a full-on funk song. And I also fell more in love with country music as I made this album. So there's not a country song, but there's like hints of country and Americana in there, which I hadn't done before.
Because you've done a lot of this genre experimentation.
Yes.
How about if you're a producer and you could choose 2 artists and you could send them off into the studio and say, come up with something? Who are you sending in?
I would send in... I think it would be a horrible, horrible combination. But I would do Norah Jones and Tyler, the Creator.
Okay. I mean, I hope one of them sees this and they're like, I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I want to hear what happens.
Inspire
with
it.
those guys. Yeah, amazing. You grew your audience on social media and you're now doing a tour, which is live and signing. That's why you're here in Rough Trade in Bristol and you've been in Leeds and London and there's doing the same thing. What's it like going from having a purely online fan base to suddenly meeting these people face to face and seeing their reaction? And
it's weird. It's really nice. I think, it was much more weird coming out of lockdown because I had no audience before lockdown, built my audience in lockdown and then did a gig and people actually came, and it was people that I never built it up as much as you're supposed to. I skipped a few steps live wise.
Supposed to?
I don't know. I just feel like, well, I do it now. I've kind of done it the other way around. Like my first show that I did was luckily sold out at the Jazz Cafe. So I went from not being able to sell 2 tickets to like a larger room that was like a dream venue in London. But then again, now I also go here, there's not going to be that many people tonight. But that's really cool as well. But I think that when you very, very first start out, it was quite scary to just skip to that. And just not know if I also was the whole audience is going to be everyone I know. But I didn't recognise anyone, which is cool and scary. But it's been, kind of weird. I don't see myself as a social media person. It's not in my personality much to be a social media person, but you got to do what you got to do.
Behind us here, we've got Spike, who is a character that appears on your merch and on your website and things like that. Could you tell me where he came from?
Well, I've always loved Peanuts, Snoopy Peanuts, and I always wanted my own character in that kind of world. So I told my team and they found this amazing designer called Boy, and who lives, I think, in Amsterdam, and he's very talented and he created Spike, and Spike has other friends and Spike has a boyfriend at the moment. He's called Michael, and it's just fun building his world, and it's nice. He kind of gets to show all the bits that I don't want to.
Nice.
Presents things that I don't want to present, which is nice.
It's now your chance to choose your perfect band for one night only.
Yeah.
You can choose a singer, a guitarist, a bassist, a drummer, and a mystery instrument. Who would you like to choose?
Okay. Singer would have to be Prince. Bass player would have to be Pino Palladino. Do they have to be people that actually play those instruments? Or can I put
if you can,
Sting on the bongos?
I was going to say, if you can justify it.
Okay. Piano player. No, I would say piano player. Piano player, Jeff Goldblum. Drummer, I would say. Oh man, I would say. I'm blanking on every drummer in the world. My dad.
Oh, okay.
Because his dream's always to play on stage in a gorilla suit. So I'd put him on stage as the drummer in a gorilla suit.
Okay.
And I'd put Ice Cube on the bongos.
Okay. I think you've added in an extra member there, but we could make it work. It's a dream band.
No, that's my musical instrument.
Didn't you want Sting on the bongos?
No, that was just an example. I don't want Sting on the bongos.
Just, okay.
I want Ice Cube on the bongos.
How come Jeff Goldblum on the piano? That's quite a random choice.
Well, Jeff Goldblum, Well, I love him. I think he's hilarious, and he's also signed to Decca, so feels semi-realistic. And jazz.
Yeah.
I like jazz, and also Jeffrey. You know, it's meant to
So
be.
you could see him playing Jeffrey
Playing
with you.
yeah, that's
You're
my
on stage
dream.
with your dream band.
Yeah,
Ice Cube is
Yeah.
shredding the bongos.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, exactly.
So Maya, the album's out now. You're touring it, but I'm sure you've been working on new stuff already because I know
Yes.
you're a prolific worker. Can you tell me what we might expect from the new stuff and if there's any new sounds you're experimenting with?
Well, I have only just begun, but I'm still kind of in two minds about it because I'm still trying to be someone that will just be inspired day by day and not try and fit myself into a lane. But I've been really enjoying writing slightly more Americana country stuff, a little bit more acoustic-y singer-songwriter in that world. I'm trying not to put too much of a lid on it. That there could be a rap song in there, who knows?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking forward to hearing it.